she's just getting out there and surfing, and you have those two guys kind of like don't they say like have luck on the waves, little girl? Like
Yeah,
there's got to be that frustration.
The little girl from
life.
Texas, they call her.
Yeah, little girl from Texas. There's got to be that frustration, and I don't have like similar experiences because I'm like a 6'4" dude. But I took a trip to China. I went on like a kamikaze trip out there. Didn't really have anything planned, and I was just wandering around at night. I saw like there was all these abandoned storefronts from when the Olympics were over. And I just saw this guy get the living daylights beat out of him. Tiananmen Square, they were kind of closing up. They weren't allowing people in, so I kind of jumped the fence to get in and see it. I don't know. I was like kind of a maniac. I don't know. You're young. You don't really think like that. You had maybe, now I look back and I'm really like, man, that was stupid. But I think she's sort of driven. She has this tunnel vision. She traveled all the way there. It's like something she has to do. And like clearly, like for me, see, one of my bucket list goals in life, I don't know why, but I wanted to see the Great Wall. So I had a break from my work in Korea, took a quick trip over there, and I just had to figure it out. And like, I don't know, just being out at 4 a.m. with a bunch of like Tsingtao in my backpack, drinking them along the streets, watching people get beat up. Like it was pretty, like I didn't think about it at all. It was pretty kamikaze. So this trip seems unplanned. She probably brought an unreliable friend out. And well, I like her surfboard too, because it reminds me of Blink-182. Which makes
totally.
But yeah, I was like, no, she's awesome. I was like, this is like my best friend now. But I don't know. I kind of see they do enough to explain her motivations. You have med school, so she can do that. And I guess I can't look at it from like the female perspective, but I kind of understand her motivations because I've made quick trips before where I've done things that are probably not smart. So I get that kind of, I'm going to go out one last time. I'm going to spend this time. So I guess they play it quite naturally, and I like that.
100%. I think it totally makes sense. Like for me, as a woman moving through the world, there's lots of things you don't do. It's like if you're out at night, you're moving fast, you have your keys out, you have people who know where you are, blah, blah, blah. So the fact that all of those things exist in this world, and she is most certainly aware of it, yet she still is putting herself, and I'm not saying like Carlos was going to hurt her, but these are things that roll through your mind as a woman when
he's an
you're
unknown.
moving through the world. He's an unknown. You're in a car. You're going to a beach. You're alone. You don't know these things. There's things you control for and things you don't. And when things are dangerous and when they're not. And so the fact that they're not even occurring to her, to me, shows her desperation. And I think that's a really great, I think it helps with the arc of her too, the way that we see her come out on the end. And I think it is totally natural. And I don't think people are always controlling for things, but it is very, very interesting to me how they make that a central part of her character. And I think it's great. Like, I really love it. And like, people are flawed and they show her that way. I also like that, when the guys are sort of nagging her about being a little girl from Texas, there's also not a need for her to prove herself. Like, I think a lot of men, in order to show women are great, make them sort of equal to men. I don't know if I'm explaining that very well, but
I got you.
That they're on the same level. And with her, they don't feel the need to do that because she is great and she knows it and she's there for herself and not to prove to other people or anything. And I just really enjoyed it. I think like Lively herself pulls it off really well. She's so captivating in this movie, which she can be completely flat in a lot of movies. And I think this plays to her strengths, I guess. And she's a wonderful little action movie star. I think she did a great job. I would definitely see more action movies or things like this, thrillers with her in it. But
there's a warmth to the character. And I watched that Rhythm Section movie that she's in, and her character's very cold and comes across very flat in it. And this one, it's kind of neat watching this hero on screen who has a warmth, who's hanging out with a seagull, is quite smart.
Yeah.
Like this is almost like it's like not like an escape room movie, but
kind of.
Yeah, it's things lapse in 30 seconds. There's jellyfish. It doesn't like the coral. There's like, I'm stitching my leg back together. Here's the timing. This stuff's coming in. So it's pretty cool. It's like we're sort of learning with the character. And you said this about the shark. Like, we first see a tiny glimpse of the shark around the 3-minute mark, but we don't see all of it until 23 minutes in. And it only has 4 minutes and 8 seconds of screen time. I had a stopwatch for that Rhythms episode I did. Yeah. I made sure that I was trying to be as objective as possible, so I timed it. And I love, though, that this shark, too. I was just watching a movie called Great White. And Jay, sorry you have to hear about this movie again.
I watched it myself the other night. And we will not be doing a show on Great White because Great White sucks.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I haven't watched it yet. I've heard it's not great.
It's so bad. But they treat their actual great whites, but they never say they're great whites, but they treat them very maliciously. They're just But in this one, this shark is so vindictive.
She's got a grudge for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, to quote Jaws, the territoriality is strong with this one. But again, they sort of give even the shark quite a backstory. Like, it's the same, like me yelling at the screen as when Blake Lively swims up to a dead whale. You're like, what the hell are you doing? Like, get out of there. You don't swim up to a food source. But then beyond that, so it's like she is swimming up on its food source and she acknowledges that. And then later on in the movie, she sees the hook in its mouth and she's like, someone got you. So there's like this two-prong.
It's out for vengeance.
Yeah, it's
all of humanity.
Totally out for vengeance.
Because it's not killing to eat. It like the drunk guy on the beach. It takes out and then it leaves him. And I think one of the other surfers is washed up on the shore at the end as well.
Yeah.
Which I like.
And since they go up, they go so big with it, you don't play it as you don't go out in the water and think this is going to happen to me. This is just a very vindictive shark out there, and I think it makes it a better antagonist because, I mean, actually you're in its territory, but it does become very jerky. Like it has food sources everywhere, like you said, Jay, and it's like, you know what? I'm going to kill this lady.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm hanging out. This lady's dead. And it goes so far in the other direction. And it's so big. And I love the visual effects. But I think it's cool because it's not saying like, these sharks are evil. It's just saying, this is a pissed off shark. It's not and
you understand why. And I don't know if you guys felt this way at the end. The first time I watched this and the subsequent times after, I am still always sad when it dies. And I think Blake Lively's character is too. I know she's going to get swept up in a storm, but she kind of looks at it and it's like this moment of sadness on her face. And you feel it too, because like she didn't want to kill a shark. You don't want to see the shark die, but like she's got to get out. So like this is what's happening, and
I get that, but it dies in such an awesome way that I am kind of happy about it.
I think you laugh about it and but then you're like, oh, it's sad. I have to admit something. I feel dumb. I don't really understand what is propelling her under the water.
Oh, she's got. So the boy was held on by like 3 chains. 2 of them have come off, and there's one that's still on there. She manages to yank that off, and then the chain and the plate it was fixed by are dragging her down. It's a really thick, heavy chain.
Oh, so it's like the weight that's propelling her that fast? Okay, because I was like, there is no sort of like the tension other than it just sinking, but I guess it's just that heavy.
I missed it the first time I watched it, but the second time I was paying attention to that. I was like, what is she doing? Okay, I get it now. That's awesome.
I guess I just don't think chain can sink that fast, but maybe this is when we just believe in the movie.
I mean, it's a whole line. It's a really long line of heavy chain. So maybe I want to look at the maths to this now.
Let's test it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where's Mythbusters at? Yeah.
Yeah. But I love that shot too. The shark's just chasing her down, and then just that rebar explosion. Ugh. And you see it earlier, and it's, man, that thing just. I love that shark just wants to kill her so bad that it just kamikazes explodes onto rebar. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty great. And I do feel bad for the shark because that's its territory. Like we're in its territory.
Yeah.
But that explode. I mean, I remember the first time I saw it, I just went, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
I'm laughing about it now.
If you wind back to the beginning of this movie, like this is what I'm talking about with the movie being like 3 different movies in one. Because when you wind back to like her beginning surfing, or even just her sitting on a rock, you don't expect for this movie to end with the shark impaling itself on rebar at the bottom of the ocean. Like I don't know what you expect, but I certainly didn't expect that. Like the whole third act of this movie is like bananas. Like it's so cinematic and it's so outrageous. Like one of my favorite scenes of her, probably my second favorite one, is when the shark slams into her and she's had enough and she does a good Blake Lively Gossip Girl like and then she just goes at it. Like the whole ending of this movie is spectacular. It is so fun and crazy, and even if it seems a little bit like outrageous, like it's kind of like when Jaws the shark like hoist himself on the boat, it's that moment where it's just like everything is coming to an end, and it's great. And so
And
I love it.
the wonky flare, of course, which makes me happy.
I know.
And then
Poor
she fires a flare at its side. You gotta go for the mouth. Come on, every shark film, you fire the flare into the shark's mouth where it does nothing at all. We know this.
Do you think she was aiming to light up the water? I thought it was weird that her last flare, she fired it when it was so far away. I was like, or did you mean to light the water? Or
I think so.
Yeah.
It was, even if she didn't, she would probably claim to do that because it was awesome. Like, you get a flaming shark fin in this film. So.
Yeah.
And a whole shark, he jumps out into the water and he's on fire.
But he's surrounded by water, so it's not gonna do a lot of damage. He's immediately doused, but it's awesome.
Oh, man, I just love the scars on it, just the look. I'm looking at some overhead shots of the movie right now, and when you have the overhead shot of the shark swimming around the small island, it's just, I don't know. I love the varied shot selection, and also too, clearly they didn't shoot it all on the water. That would be an absolute nightmare. But I do think the visual effects and studio work in this movie are quite impressive as far as shooting that, because once again, in Great White, it's some of the worst studio shooting you'll probably ever see. But this one, you got the water moving, the really solid blending of visual effects with the studio work. And I mean, this wasn't even that big of a budget. Was it 25 million? That's kind of next to nothing for one of these movies nowadays. So just look. Oh, wait, the budget was estimated 17 to 25. And that's next to nothing.
And it made almost 120. So that's awesome.
Doesn't that make us, that makes us happy, right? That this made $120 million.
Because I heard you guys talking about the Meg earlier, which we all know how I feel about that movie. I hate it. It's garbage.
Yeah. Boo the Meg. Boo.
Boo the Meg. And that movie was trillions of dollars, and it looks like trash. And this, people always talk about, well, yeah, this is a blockbuster shark movie too. And it's like, no, it was $25 million at the highest, which is nothing. And it's the same, Deep Blue Sea too. That wasn't a blockbuster budget either. And these movies are making a huge impact with the amount of money that they have. And especially they have big star, Blake Lively's a big star. I'm curious how much she got paid for this, and now the director himself is a big star, but
it's crazy too, because this is low budget. I mean, she probably made a back end deal, because you can't keep a budget down at 25 million if Blake Lively's getting 7-8 million out of that. But I think it's kind of crazy too, because Jean-Michel Collet, Sarah, he had made Nonstop, he had made Run All Night, so this guy had hits. So I wonder if this is just take 25 million, do whatever you want, and I don't know what point I'm getting at here, but yeah, it's. It's kind of crazy that they only gave it that much money. This guy turns out hits, and this only got 17 to 25. Which,
well, it feels like you're dancing around I'm glad this movie got made for a lot of reasons. And then one of them is also that you don't need hundreds of millions of dollars to make a great action movie. The Fast and the Furious movie are great. They're really, really fun. All that money is up on the screen, and that's great. But also, you can get, I always think of this movie, I really, really, really hate when people say that this movie is a campy B movie, because I'm like,
wait,
what is...
People say that?
They say it. It's in some reviews. You guys know this is my axe to grind, because it's I feel like people with shark movies, regardless of what is up there, will be like, oh my God, it's such a campy little B movie. And it's like, what about this movie is campy? This is not even really a B movie to me. It has a lower budget, but that doesn't necessarily make it sort of a genre B movie to me. To me, it's a minimalist thriller. I think just because there's a smaller cast and things, it doesn't, it's ridiculous. But it's to show the variety of movie that you can make, and that you don't always need to blow everything out, is great. I think it's going to be interesting because now the director is doing Marvel movies, right? He's going to do the new, I forget what it is, but
Black Adam, I think.
Cruise. He did Jungle Cruise, which wasn't
a lot really?
That was just.
He's doing Black Adam, which is.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's DC, not
DC.
Same thing, but
I mean, kind of. Let's be real, guys.
Well, DJ loves him. Dwayne Johnson loves him, so I guess he took him with from Jungle Cruise.
Yeah.
Well, good. But this whole movie, It's such a different sensory experience than watching like Deep Blue Sea because it's almost like art house. Like it's so beautiful